What is up, guys? My name's Jackal, and we are here for a little epilogue to our Legend of Zelda series. I'm going to, at least with this series, I'm not going to do this with any other series. I don't really care to do this with any other series. But for The Legend of Zelda, my favorite video game series, since as long as I've known video games existed, I'm going to do a little ranking of these games as time goes on. Now with this one, there's no way to rank it against itself. Other than, I was born in the year 1990. This came out 4 years before I was born. I promise you, if I would have been alive and able to play video games when this game came out, it would have been my favorite game at the time. I promise you it would have. The 4 years difference really wouldn't have made much of a difference in... Well, actually, I would have had to have been born a little sooner. So let's say this came out in '86. I started playing video games when I was like 3 years old. So if I was born in '83, if I was 7 years older, this would have still been my favorite game. It wouldn't have mattered. I would have been exactly the same. So I can't really rank it against itself. So we're just going to say, I love this game. Albeit, this is probably one of my least favorite Zelda games in the series. And though playing it years later, it doesn't feel as bad as I remember it. I actually liked playing it more on this playthrough than I have, I believe, the last time I played it. I would say I definitely had more fun on this one playing it. And not just because I talked to myself the entire time. I genuinely had more fun than I normally have playing this game. Especially because I'm not as good, so it was a little more clenched butthole than it usually is. But even though I liked it more, it's still not one of my favorite Zelda games. Now, like I said, I was born in 1990. I'm not, like, one of the oldest Zelda fans out there. But, I'm in my low 30s. You know, I'm 31, I'll be 32 this year. And I will definitely end up disagreeing with a lot of people, but even without playing the sequel to this game, Zelda 2, and like, even though it's been a while since I played that one as well, I have no doubt that I still love Zelda 2 more than Zelda 1. But without trying to compare it to everything else, without me having played it again, just on its own, I appreciate, in this day and age, in 1986, most games were all linear. Or linear. I guess that would both be the same thing. They all had a linear gameplay mechanic where everything was stage-based, left to right, down to up. Everything was always very straightforward progressing. Now, I do appreciate the difference that this game tried to take in being a much more open-ended adventure. My problem is that because of the way that it does it, there's not really like any interactions with any, like, you have other people, but like they're all store owners and stuff like that. So unfortunately, I can't put myself completely in the mindset of 1986 anymore. One, because I wasn't born then, but even, like, to imagine, to put myself in somebody else's back then shoes. I think since I'm not able to do that, looking now, not having really any towns or anything like that, just kind of hinders the experience to me. Now again, that's me having played a shitload of Zelda games in my life. If I was starting off playing this series blind, I don't know if I would have liked it or not. I don't know how I would go back and look at it in that way. It's really hard because, you know, back then, when this game was made, there weren't like towns and video games like that, you know? So I don't know what the capacity for the people developing the games on this system at the time, I don't know what their capacity was to do any of that. But for what they had, and for what this game was doing at the time, it really was like a big thing. And I get it, but there is a part of me that does kind of prefer the linearity of things. Like, even when I do, like, A Link to the Past, because I can't, I'm sure you can do, can you do dungeons, excuse me, can you do dungeons in Zelda 2 out of order? I can't remember. I think you can, but I don't know for sure. But even if you can or can't, I know for sure A Link to the Past you can. That one, like it says on the map, also, which dungeons you go to and when. And even in that game, I go in order. There's just something that I like about, like, a designated path to things, and then I'm allowed to just stray off the path to the extent that I want to. I'm not too much of a fan of just, like, unlimited freedom and just, okay, go. Because unfortunately, when there's less of a story, I tend to lose a bit of interest. Now, these first two Zelda games will suffer from that, but at least in the second Zelda game, there's towns to go through, there's people to talk to within the towns, there's secrets to find within the towns, there's missions to do inside. Even though it's bare bones minimum, I appreciate that extra step much more. So I know this is still going to rank among my lowest rated Zelda games, but in all honesty, I think it's a lot of fun. And I think that there are tools in this game just given to you, especially because you're meant to play this game with the official booklet. So you can just go on Google, you can bring up the NES game booklet for The Legend of Zelda, and you can read through it and be given all of the same tips that you normally get, which I think it tells you, like, the booklet itself tells you how to get to, like, more than half the levels, I believe, and gives you hints about areas, you know, where other dungeons are. There's so many tips to give, and even right here, please look up the manual for details. This game was not actually meant to be played without the game manual, which is unfortunate. So that means that if somebody were to be a beginner and play this game, if you were to say, be like Jackal, I've never played a Zelda game in my life, but I'm like you and I'm really weird and really dumb and I want to do it from the first game to the most recent. Should I play the first Zelda game? I would say yes, but make sure you look at the actual, download the PDF of the original game manual, because there's a map that'll come in there. Look at that and go from there. I don't have to do that because I've played this game and beaten this game a bunch, at least more than a dozen times in my life. It's been a while since I've done it last, but I've done it quite a bit. So that's what I would say. I would definitely say it is worth doing, but I don't know if I would recommend doing it without that. Now, could you use like an actual game guide? Yes, but I would strongly recommend against that. It would just, to me, I feel like that would ruin a lot of what you could get out of this game by using a total guide. Obviously, this is the modern day. If you're running into a wall and you can't figure something out and you gotta look it up, then you gotta look it up, dog. Like, whatever. It is what it is. Don't worry about it. But I do think that it would be worth attempting just with the game manual, and then you go from there. But, yeah. I just kind of wanted to record this after I beat the game here. And I plan on doing this with the rest of the Zelda games. But I'll have the added part of discussion where I will be measuring them up against each other. So, yeah, man, this has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. Next time, I'm going to be playing for my little extra game I'm playing, I think I'm going to play another Mega Man game. I think I'm going to play, because if I remember right, when I looked up the Mega Man games, how the original Mega Man games came out, it came out Mega Man 1, and then Mega Man 1 for the Game Boy. I think it was called Dr. Wily's Revenge. Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy. Mega Man 3, 4, 5, and then Mega Man 6 on the NES came out, and then that was it. So, like, the Game Boy games matched up in between all of the other NES Mega Man games. So, I think I'm going to do that. I've never actually played that one. I've never played any of the Game Boy game ones. The only reason I actually ever wanted to play the Game Boy ones, especially growing up, was because I remember as a kid, all of in one of them, I don't know which one it is, they had different names instead of them being like Cut Man, Bomb Man. They were all named after the planets, which I thought was really cool. So I think next time I'm going to play that, take a little break from Zelda for a little bit, play a little 2D platforming. But after that, we'll see what the future holds. Because Pokemon, I'm going to jump back on that. I've already got half of my gym badges and that, so Pokemon itself will be coming to a close relatively soon. So, and by relatively, I mean not too near in the future, but we'll get there. Till later, guys. Peace.